Motion to approve the agenda, moved by Watson Briggs. Discussion, favor, opposed, approved. Motion to read the minutes. Watson Briggs. Discussion, all in favor, opposed, approved. Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you. Don't be mad at me for making us have this meeting since I'm the only one with items, so I'll try to go fast.
It is a delight.
I gave you a document back in November with some proposed areas for higher level collaboration and focus with the university. Subsequent to me giving you the document, I received one other request from staff for consideration, and that is coordinated utility planning, which came from public services. So that is essentially a fifth item to add to the list. My purpose for having it on the agenda today is just to check in with the committee to see if you're okay with the items. If you are, I would prepare a document that would go to Chris Cole and the president, signed by the mayor and me to start discussions with them. If it's not, you want changes made, then I would do that. So I'm just looking for feedback.
The document looks good to me. The only thing that I thought was absent from it, which relates somewhat to the housing solutions and all of that, is really, and within the economic development report, is the U of M acquisition of property in the community and how that's impacting our tax base, and more coordinated conversation around those decisions. Obviously, U of M will pursue opportunities, but doesn't have a significant impact on our.
The downtown vitality is not typically seen at the university planning basement.
It isn't what they'd like it to be.
Which day? The downtown?
No, Cole and company.
Oh, go on.
That's why they put up the money for the restrooms. They are open to becoming more directly involved in helping us advance downtown, because they recognize a number of their staff and students are down there. To the point of consideration going forward for even helping to pay for some. So I've backgrounded some of what I'm giving you.
Yeah.
To know the ground's fertile. That's one item that's fertile. You know, the what is always the details.
Yeah.
But at least communicating, you know, the intersection at State Street is a prime example. What's good for state is good for the city, but it's also good for them. And if they are going to go forward with the big vision for the connector, downtown's going to factor into that. So we're just sort of laying a pathway now.
Okay.
I just want to second what Councilmember Briggs said. In addition to, you know, the idea of taking pieces of land off the tax base, there's also, I think, a little bit of the question of, you know, if the university wants to be a bigger landlord in terms of, you know, these mixed-use developments that are proposed in their plans, and how that, you know, I think that might align also, you know, with downtown vitality, also on North Campus. You know, if they are pursuing more as a landlord, you know, obviously that affects the tax base and also how they're planning those and situate, on their own land or in acquisitions, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I just run right through the list.
Please, thank you.
We are working on the transition part for the incoming police chief. The sheriff's office is conducting the deeper background check that we can't conduct, so that is underway. There's got to be that, a psych eval. We lined up someone to help the chief with housing locations. So if I were to guess, I would say likely early February for a start time, which means we would need to schedule a ceremony in the chambers for swearing in and invite the community, which I wasn't here, but my understanding is you did that when Chief Cox came. I saw a picture from his swearing in the chambers. So that would be in line. It's something the police department would plan, but there are some community people that have expressed an interest in being present when he is.
Mhm.
So I'll keep you posted on kind of where that stands. We can only go as fast as the background work being completed. Item 3 is just to plant a seed with you. Know everybody is not the zealot I am for sports. Imagine what happened anyway. Next year, the CFP is going to a 12-team format for the playoffs. You would have to assume that Michigan would be one of the top 12 teams in the country, which means they would be in line to host a playoff game in Ann Arbor. And when you look at the calendar, so right now, we are used to the last big house sporting event being Thanksgiving weekend. If Columbus is coming, this game would be played probably around the third week in December, which is a problem for us in terms of the resource allocation we would have to provide for, but it would be necessary. So I'm just telling you now, somewhere around third week in December, we could be hosting. And in football, rain and snow does not stop a game from happening. So weather can be bad as long as it's not lightning, the game goes on. Our folks, as you might imagine, are tired from last night. So it's just one of those things. We'll see how it goes.
Mhm. When you say resources are not there, what do you elaborate? Why is there a distinction between resources being available for other games?
Oh, it's an open meeting though.
I'll say that like this.
It is, if you think in terms of tranches of work that we have to allocate many people in order to execute, the norm now is once we get to Thanksgiving weekend, we can move on to other things that we are expensive. Also, you're getting close to the point where a number of people would traditionally start taking vacations and leaving. Now they will be told, you cannot leave, you cannot be off. You've got to be here to accommodate whatever is required. And so the playoff schedule, you're at the mercy of what national TV wants you to do. So daytime, nighttime, what day of the week it is, they pick all of that. And so your street closures, you're allocating 75 officers to the stadium, having Brian's folks involved, the fire folks.
Pre-work.
All of that will have to happen now going well into December. It's just something we are taking note of that we can do about it, but it may also cause us to pause a few other things because we know we have to do that. Case in point, we put a lot of effort into last night, and that went on for weeks. We're putting a lot of effort into the potential of a parade this weekend, even though now it may not happen. But nevertheless, our time is taken up doing all of that, and there's no alternative to it. So just sharing information on it. I know you'll be crushed, but there's no budget videos this time. You will have one budget session. It'll be March the 11th. And is that 7 to 9? 7 to 8:45 with your hard stop for public comment. So, we haven't figured out what it'll look like yet, but you'll be getting presentations from some level of staff at that time to get ready. Keep in mind, this is the second year of the biennial budget. So we're not expecting major changes from what we already told you, even though the revenue is better because of the one-time influx of state shared revenue. At any rate, it's coming. We have Hell's not on the agenda, but you also wanted me to use this as an update forum, so I'll update you on a couple of things. We have been in discussions with DTE as we embark upon the winter season with the intent of trying to do better than last year. So we've reached the framework of an understanding as to how we will go forward in dealing with instances of inclement weather. DTE will provide a daily situational report to the city, and Arbor will provide DTE with a critical infrastructure outage list. And Arbor's emergency management area will take the lead on coordinating with DTE. And that's one of the things that DTE really pushed for. They assert, I mean, reason to doubt it. It's a little confusing when they're hearing from multiple people from the city. They need a single portal. So emergency management would be it. So I would be asking council members if you have concerns about outages or infrastructure, just convey that to me and I'll put it in the portal so it's all going one way. We will do, DTE will provide us an update daily on critical infrastructure restoration plans. We'll do a pre-weather briefing with DTE when they are predicting a medium storm or better. We will convene in advance of a medium storm. Ann Arbor and DTE will convene a post-storm analysis to see what can be done better at this time. This seems like simple, logical things, but that's not what we've been doing. So it represents progress for us to come to a common table and actually hammer out this is how we're going to try to go forward this season. Let's see how it works. Lastly, yes, sorry.
That's okay. My recollection is that in addition to, well, my recollection is that there was no single point of contact on their end. There's no portal into which city and, you know, all the various other jurisdictions could communicate critical outages. Have they improved their receipt of information as they request our coherence on distribution of information?
They have made some improvements to their portal. They also are aligning with an emergency management structure that is more akin to nationally what you would expect to see. Mm-hmm. Now, can I tell you that I know it works? No, because it hasn't been tested.
Yeah.
it'll only be tested once we have an incident and multiple people are trying to go through the portal simultaneously, then we'll see. But at least they are trying to make improvements, they're trying to improve communication, and they acknowledge that things need to get better. So they very willingly came to, planning table with the staff to try to iron out who's going to do what in the case of inclement weather. So we'll see. But we're cautiously optimistic. Let's say that.
And I just want to repeat back what you said, because I'm not sure if I caught it all. I was really looking, oh, this is,
Oh,
I'm not typing
Want me
it,
to go?
please, your time. Well, let me just see, I just wonder, the DTE will update the city daily with restoration plans,
for infrastructure.
for infrastructure.
Yeah.
There's going to be the pre-briefing with PD in advance of the medium storm, post-storm analysis, anniversary, city emergency management is going to take the lead for
Communicating on
getting
behalf
out,
of the city.
yeah, from like, so if we have concerns, council will take it, submit it in whatever way they would ask us to.
Right.
And is there anything else that I missed on that? Changes?
There was a daily situational report.
We'll get a daily situational report from them. And the city of Ann Arbor, we will be providing them with a prioritized critical infrastructure outage list. So before, they were kind of getting that from multiple places. Now, there'll be no issue of confusion because this is the city's list of outages that we're telling you we need you to address. And so we will be able to visit back with them. Where are you with A through F? And we'll get a daily update on where they are. The one thing that is still there, not a big deal, we acknowledge they serve multiple jurisdictions. So they can't just always break everything out, just Ann Arbor specific. We get that. But as long as the communication is improved and we're working on a common list, and what I'm talking about has no bearing on whatever may be going on with AAPS. We're not trying to speak for the school system. They have to report their own outages, however they work that out. We did a little bit of that last year and it became a problem. We were trying to do the school system a favor, but it caused more headaches and everything else. So it's better if we're silent on schools and let them decide. There's schools that are out.
And to be clear, this is the one channel for communication from the municipal organization with respect to municipal organization assets. This is not a substitute for community members communicating outages, et cetera. Nor are we,
That is correct.
nor are we picking and choosing our suggestions to where community outages are addressed. This is just, we need this light,
Significant infrastructure.
we need the water station, we need these parking, these traffic lights, et cetera.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to that point, that's not what happens after a storm. I mean, we get reached out to by our constituents, there's a neighborhood that's said that they've had, power restored, it hasn't gotten power restored, they're trying to communicate out, they're not getting information back. So we end up reaching, at least I ended up with some of the major storms, kind of in these, what is going on? So there is more than just infrastructure that nobody reaches out to me about infrastructure. They do. The traffic light at, 7th and Huron or, major things, but, or there's lines down Foster Road, but a lot of times it's neighborhood based, I'm assuming, right? If there's confusion, is that still?
Reach out to Molly.
Yeah, she's asking that you not.
Yeah, so we would bring things to.
So part of it will get clear when we actually get the SIT report. Because they're going to give the overall, here's what we're doing, here's what we're prioritizing, the teams, et cetera, et cetera. if the general public is communicating with DTE about something that's really neighborhood or resident specific, that still is happening. Is the portal handling all that? We don't know. We're gonna find out. But in terms of what is City of Ann Arbor government asking them to address? What priorities do we have? We have a process for now dealing with that. If there's something that comes from a council member, regardless of what it is, I'm simply going to put it into our communication to them, indicating a council person has approached us about X. They'll have to figure out, well, the tree hanging over there, where does that fall? You know, we can't do that, but we will share the communication. But we were having major problems. You know, I told you 2 days ago the firehouse was out. Where is it? Where is it on the list? No way of knowing. Or we can't do a clearance of a major corridor because the live wires intertwined with the tree and you're not sending crews to shut that off. Now we'll be in a stronger position to go back to them. Okay, where are you with this? If you tell us you can't get to it until tomorrow, at least we know that, and now we can plan and work around it. But it was just chaotic, some of the incidents we've had. We're just all trying to get better.
I'm hoping that we can also, like you're doing a post-storm analysis, that there can be some sort of check-in with us after the first like major storm where we may have seen power out for days. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but this thing's like inevitable. So, because I know we're trying to make sure that things improve for the city, and that is incredibly important, and that's great progress. But there's also this chaos that's existing on the residential side that at some point residents ask us to intervene on and say, like, things aren't getting better, and see if we're making progress on that piece. But more centralized communication might be helpful too.
Just clear a catalog of
Yeah.
what requests we're getting.
Yeah.
Okay, let it go. Take it to this portal.
So I'll just say, perhaps this is speculative, but I don't believe. Clearly, someone has communicated to the person we normally communicate with, because it's been different. For us to be able to get to this with her and the team is a major step forward, because we were asking for this 2 years ago. Like, where did you get your emergency response model from? It's not like any other, because it's a national framework that we're trying to follow, and they didn't see that. My last item, blocking you from going home, this is, it's not on the list. It just qualifies as I'm trying to get the pebble out of our shoe. We should be able to cancel or move a council meeting without having 6 people have to actually show up to vote to do that. Other places do it. I talked with the city manager in Grand Rapids today. They do it. What I was told is that there's some level of flexibility written into the rules that allows for the changes, so you don't have to convene to then say, we're not meeting Monday, we're going to meet Thursday. I've asked, can you share with me what your language says? I hope to get a copy of it. I don't know what the issue is, but things are gonna come up. We're not gonna be able to abide 100% about a calendar regardless of what the calendar says. Stuff happens. We could be in the middle of a snowstorm. We're probably not gonna do a council meeting. There's probably a provision for that. A situation like last night happened. We would have been hard pressed on the staff side to be doing a council meeting while what was going on, because people were all over the place. Even after we shut down the ELC, people were still all over the place. So I'm just sort of taking that on as something I hope we can figure out, because what we're doing.
It's the council rules. It's the council rules. Yeah, and they can be, we can bring an amendment. Mayor and I, when I advised that we'd have to have a meeting, that's the first thing we also talked about, is that maybe it's time to look at how to amend the rules to allow for more flexibility.
What? I'm finished.
So then are you?
Yeah, Kevin and I are looking at them.
Beautiful. Can we go back to the budget thing just to make sure I understand on that update? So, so we're gonna, and again, we've done a few different formats now. And I think maybe in the past there used to be a couple of council meetings that led into it, right? Work sessions, and then, you know, we've done video presentations, and so now we're gonna, it sounds like this will just be maybe a longer work session where we have those mini presentations. We have the opportunity to ask questions. Is that's kind of the format for this year?
It is, but I don't know that it'll be longer because we have to stop at 8:45 to allow public comment. So, but it'll be one session. No videos will be made, and you would ask all of your questions at that one session. So, one factor that will allow this budget season to be a bit less onerous, it's the second year. So we've already kind of told you, here's where the spending's gonna be. And so the only adjustment is tweaks that will be made. So someone might say, well, since you've gotten additional revenue beyond what was projected, do you have plans to allocate it? Our answer is probably going to be no. One-time money versus ongoing money. Are we going to hire 7 people? No, because it's not ongoing money. We might hire a person or two, in part because we, as you know, we've been much more aggressive about pursuing grants. And some of the grants we pursue do call for hiring people to implement them. But we would explain all of that. A year from now, when we go back to the next 2-year cycle, I don't know that you'll be able to do it in one session, but you should be able to do it this time.
That makes sense.
So the 8:45 is just a council rule?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just told.
It is, no, it is a council rule, but that also means it is subject to, even in the moment waiver if it comes to that. So while it is something that we strive for, it is a frequently pushed time frame.
Okay.
We're not going to keep us there longer or what have you, but, you know, as we think through what we're doing, if it turns out that that's a meeting that goes until 9:30, it's 8:45, and, you know, Stagos is still talking and we're still listening, then it's okay. Everybody nods, we move forward and get the question.
Okay.
The Q&A one, that's always.
Sure. Ms. Glenn?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Last. Is there any other, well, that was information. Is there any other upcoming business? We now come to public comment general time. You imagine that I've recited the rules. My suspicion is that you have a capital familiarity with them.
I don't mean to be humorous, but I have truly enjoyed this meeting. And I take at least 50% credit for Milton being here. And people who know me know that I love process improvement. So that didn't go unnoticed. MDOT has a program towards the zero deaths, which I'm sure everyone knows about, and within that, they have a safe systems approach. And one of the things that we need to do is focus on visibility, both sight distance and illumination. And this is difficult for the city of Ann Arbor because of our culture, because of our problem-solving methodologies, but also because we had a 10-year moratorium on new streetlights. And as a result of that, there are still people who don't value illumination. That's a mindset. And EGLE has just recently announced a waste management initiative. And every county has to submit a plan. And if it's not submitted within a certain time, then the county has to adopt the state plan. And I'm going to propose that MDOT does the same thing with visibility, sight distance, and illumination, because Ann Arbor has a lot of expertise, and if we can't get it right, how can we expect some of our smaller communities to? On the other hand, Detroit issued bonds to pay for street lighting because they thought it was so important for their pedestrians in the Detroit area. So, and I also just want to mention the King School crosswalk still look the same way. The A2 Fix-It ticket has not been updated. And I am 100% confident that I am right, and why staff continues to make false statements is beyond me. The crosswalk in front of the President's house on South University, there are crosswalks that are painted with no curb ramps and no signage. So I've been documenting crosswalks throughout the city, and there are some very unusual configurations. And we've spent millions of dollars to improve safety, and we have our crosswalk design guidelines that we've looked at least a couple of times, and reality does not match our guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else in the house. If the visitor online would like to speak at public comment, please enter *9. Seeing no one, public comment is closed. Motion to adjourn moved by Arbor. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.